Most of us know that processed food isn't very good for us. But why? Isn't it all about how many calories you take in? Well, not exactly. So, in today's video, I'm going to look at why processed food isn't very good for you and actually how it can affect your brain chemistry, which is a bit scary. Hi, my name is Sarsa. I'm a nutritionist and healthy lifestyle blogger from Ireland, and on my channel, I help make healthy living simple because it doesn't have to be complicated. Like I said, today's video is all about processed food, so let's get started. Pretty much everything we eat nowadays is processed in some way, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's necessary for a food to be processed in order for it to be safe for us to eat. Milk, for example, if it's not pasteurized, you're at risk of getting salmonella or other harmful bacteria. Then there's things like fermented foods, which are full of probiotics. They're processed. Fruit and veg can be frozen. That makes it a lot more versatile, longer shelf life. Also, it can make it more nutritious because as soon as they're picked, they're frozen so they don't lose as much vitamins. So, those foods are processed, but they are good for us. But then you've got other processed foods, the foods that you know yourself, they just aren't as good for you as the previous ones I talked about. So they would be like your cakes, your buns, your deli meats, ready meals, microwave meals, crisps. A lot of fast food is highly processed as well. Breakfast cereals are highly processed. Anything basically that doesn't look like it did before it was processed is kind of a alarm bell going off. Like frozen veg, they don't look that different than fresh veg, just that they were frozen. Milk doesn't look any different when before it's been pasteurized or after it's been pasteurized. So that's what I mean. When it's highly ultra processed, it completely changes the food. It also adds in a lot of chemicals, and these chemicals do affect us negatively. A diet high in processed food is one of the major causes of obesity. It also causes high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, among a lot of other chronic illnesses that involve inflammation in the body. As well as that, processed foods are very energy dense, and a lot of time processing strips the food of its nutrients, so its vitamins, its minerals, and fiber a lot of the time as well. So even though these foods are quite high in calories or energy, as you'd call it, they are very low in nutrients, which isn't great because when we eat food, we want to be getting the biggest bang for our buck. We want to be getting as much nutrients as possible in when we're eating, giving our body the best fuel we can. But you're probably sitting there thinking, but it tastes so good. And it does. And there's actually science behind that. It's called the bliss point. It's the perfect ratio of sugar, salt, and fat. And companies, food manufacturing companies, actually pay hundreds of thousands of millions of euros or dollars researching how to get that bliss point for their food because they want you to never want to stop eating their food. They want you to buy it all the time. They want you to crave it, to think about it. And unfortunately, they have figured out how to do that with processed food. So, food can be addictive. In fact, this bliss point triggers a part in your brain called the reward system, and that's the same thing that's triggered when you take addictive drugs. So, food can be addictive, and if it's processed food that's not very good for you, then it can be very hard to stop eating it, even if you can see the weight piling on, you can see your health deteriorating. It can be very hard to stop. Processed food also it affects our hormone levels, particularly two hormones called ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is a hunger hormone, so it's the hormone that is released when we are hungry. It's the hormone that I often talk about when I say never shop when hungry, because when you are hungry, you release this hormone and all you can think about is food. And leptin, it does the opposite. It tells your brain, I'm full. So, what processed food seems to do from the research, it shows that processed food actually increases the ghrelin levels. So, it increases the hunger hormone levels, making you think you're hungry even when you're not. And it lowers the leptin levels, meaning that you could be full, but your brain isn't telling you that you're full because you don't have enough leptin. That's often why, if you eat something like, say, a McDonald's, for example, you find that even if you eat a Big Mac, a large fries, chicken McNuggets, and a Diet Coke or a normal Coke, you'll find in a couple of hours or even less than that, you're hungry again. And that's the same with all processed food. It doesn't keep you full because it's messed with your hunger hormone levels. And it's telling you that you're hungry when you actually aren't. So basically, the more processed food you eat, the more hungry you're going to feel. Research has also shown that eating a diet high in processed food links the reward system of your brain to the part of your brain that controls automatic repetitive responses. So, like things that you do without even thinking, meaning that your brain will make you eat food even when you're not hungry as almost like a habit. So it'll be like going into the kitchen and opening the press even when you're not hungry, reaching in, taking a biscuit even when you're not hungry, opening the fridge, going into the fridge, taking something out. I know you're sitting there thinking, I do that all the time. I do that too, but it's really important that you kind of be aware of that, because if you eat a lot of processed food, you're probably doing that quite often and you don't realize how much food you're actually eating. The scary thing about this is, if you think about it, children and teenagers' brains are a lot more malleable than adults. And a lot of children nowadays eat a lot of processed food. Even when you go out to a restaurant, the kiddies menu is usually, it's all processed, like chicken nuggets, sausages, pizza, burgers, chips. It's all processed food, and that's what they're given on their menu, and that's probably what they're eating at home too. So it's very important to realize that if you give your children these foods all of the time, once in a while is fine, but all of the time, they're going to have that as a habit growing up then, and they're going to find it very hard to stop eating those foods as they get older. So you don't need to worry. If you do eat a lot of processed food, then you just need to cut back on it slowly, and it won't be easy. But there are a few things you can do to make it so that you slowly but surely kind of crowd out the processed foods and start eating more whole foods without feeling deprived or even missing those foods. Because I guarantee you, once you start eating less processed foods, you will feel so much better in yourself that you won't want to go back to feeling the way you felt. Sometimes you don't even realize how bad you feel until you feel better. The first tip has to be cut back slowly, baby steps. There's no point in throwing all the processed food in your house out and saying, right, no more processed food right from starting now. Take it slowly. Look at what you eat and say, right, what kind of things small changes can I make? Can I maybe cut back on the bread a little bit? Can I maybe change breakfast cereals every few days to something like porridge that isn't as processed? Maybe try eating an egg in the morning. Eating more fruit and vegetables as snacks. Whole foods like whole nuts are great for snacks as well. Dried fruit can be great to replace if you have a sweet tooth, because they're they're basically like sweets, but they're like nature sweets, I like to call them. Things, small little changes like that. Cutting back on takeaways is another big thing that will help. And when you're going to the butchers or when you're buying your meat, try to buy it from the butchers. Um, Or even if you can't afford that, the supermarkets, buying the meat that doesn't look processed, it's not covered in sauces or um yeah, if you're getting meat, try to get good quality meat. Meat would be the thing that it kind of, you do need to spend a little bit of money sometimes on it if you're going to get good quality meat, because otherwise you are going to get highly processed meat, and that's not good for you. Protein and healthy fats increase the satiety of a meal and fiber as well. That means that that meal will keep you full for longer. So processed foods, like I said, they mess with your ghrelin levels, they mess with your leptin levels, they make you feel hungrier quicker. They don't fill you up as much. But if you eat a meal that is full of lean, healthy sources of protein, lean or healthy fats, and plenty of fiber, you will feel satisfied. You won't feel hungry. You won't go looking for that processed food. Try to avoid things that contain high fructose corn syrup and sugar sweetened drinks, as they can mess with your ghrelin levels also. So they mess with the hunger hormone level, making you feel hungry. Finally, the best thing to do is try not to buy processed food that much. If you don't have it in your house, if you don't have it to hand, you're less likely to eat it. And obviously, still have your treats, but if you keep less processed food in the house and keep more whole foods in the house, you're more likely to eat more whole foods. It's common sense, really. So you can see from this list that there is some processed foods that are okay, like frozen fruit, frozen veg, frozen fish and frozen chicken that are plain, meaning they don't have breadcrumbs on them or sauces on them. Sweet corn canned is fine. Canned fish like salmon and tuna is also fine. Plain popcorn, that's popcorn that doesn't have like toffee on it or butter on it or salt. Then yogurt, so yogurt like natural yogurt that doesn't have flavourings in it, because they can be quite high in sugar. And other fermented foods, and then like I said before, milk. Then there's the processed foods that you want to avoid. So you probably already know these. So crisps, cakes, biscuits, sweets, frozen pizza, and other frozen meat products like chicken nuggets, fish fingers, those kind of things. Processed meats like deli meats such as ham, sausages, chorizo, they're bacon, pork, they're quite high in fat and salt. And then some mince meats as well. The mince meat you get in the supermarket, sometimes it can have other things added to it to increase its shelf life, also to give it more flavour as well. But if you get plain mincemeat from your butchers or good quality mincemeat from your supermarket, then that should be okay. Ready meals are full of salt, full of actual saturated fat and sugar, even though they don't taste sweet. Breakfast cereals as well, you need to be quite careful with them, and bread. I hope this video helped you, informed you, and I hope you liked it. If you did, please like, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for more videos, and comment below. Do you find that you eat a lot of processed food? Do you think you could make some improvements in your diet? And do you think that anything in this video resonates with you? Like, did you have a light bulb moment when I said something? I'd really love to know. Thanks for watching. Bye.